合唱。ナモアミダ仏。
ナモアミダ仏。
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 ナモアミダ仏。ナモアンダナモアンダナモアンダナモアンダ。Hello, and welcome to Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple's 2021 Gotan-E service. We're very glad you joined us today. Gotan-E is a celebration of Shinran Shonin's birth. It's said that Shinran was born May 21st, 1173, and lived almost 90 years. We remember his birth and the works that he did in his life to help spread the other power Nembutsu teaching and build what is today known as Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. Thank you very much for joining us and listening to the celebration of Shinran Shonin's life. Today, service order will be Shoshinge. You can find Shoshinge on page 2 in the Blue Denver Service Book. We will then have a reading of The Three Treasures by Sensei Frank Miyazawa. You can find the Three Treasures on page 106 in the Blue Denver Service Book. And then, a Dharma talk in English. Thank you all very much for coming and visiting us once again here on Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple's YouTube channel. We hope that you can continue to come and visit us. And talking about that Blue Service Book, don't worry, there's a hyperlink in the description below for your very own copy of the Blue Denver Service Book. Print it out or save it on your desktop and always have it nearby. So please, live your life out in the sun and know that you are always in the light of Amida Buddha. Join me in Gassho and say Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
奇妙無量寿如来ナモ不可思議故法蔵菩薩院に在世自在用仏性刀剣勝仏浄土院国土人伝自然幕混入無常種障眼長発形大偶勢五行死有死小寿十世名正門寺法不法無量無変更無下無体公園の少女寛義知恵公不断難事無償公超日学校精進説一切群上無故障本願名号少女号死死信行願に浄土逆小大涅槃必死滅度願成就如来正意公主世唯説弥陀本願会五辱悪事群上会陽心如来如実言如発一年期愛心不断煩悩特涅槃凡上逆法再永入入主死入海一味摂取人口上昇後意の水波無明暗頓内心臓死運無常不真実新人天異名に古不運無 しげ妙無安、逆真剣兄弟狂気、即応超絶合悪臭、一切全幕本無人、門心如来偶然願、仏言広大小芸者、善人妙踏んだり、けみだ仏本願念仏、邪見狂慢悪衆生、信行十字人に難中死難昔、インド祭天使論芸、中華自治力士こそ、現代小公正小位、妙如来本税要期、釈迦如来ヨガ戦、一種五妙難天竺、優柔大自主と性質の財派有無権、先絶大乗無情報、召喚議事小安楽、賢治南洋六六九、信行異行指導楽、億年弥陀仏本願、次年即時入筆上、有能上昇如来語、大悲偶然音、天神菩薩増論世、奇妙無下光如来、一種たら見真実、光線の頂大聖願、こういう本願力へこう、移動群上昇一心、記入功徳大崩壊、筆逆入大へ収集、特使蓮華造世界、即昇進妙法精進、有言の輪現人図、入所自四自用芸、本師論乱両天使、上皇乱消防殺来、三蔵ルシ十条教、煩悩専用気楽法、天神菩薩論中芸、報道因果見世願、大芸猫ゆたり、少女心唯心人、惑前文部新人法、生じ即涅槃、非死無量光明道、小修上回復系、同社結晶道難所、有名浄土活入、万全自力変言集、円満特語完成書、三不三子軽音語、増末法滅道品、一生増悪地偶税、死安如来、称名化。全能独妙仏性意、公愛上三要逆悪、公明明語見二年、海入本願大智慧、行者少女今後心、狂気一年総合、用意大等逆三人、即小法小四道楽、原始公開一大公、延期安養官一切、先祖終身反先人、法華二 小弁流。極十は国入小物。害薬剤非摂取中。煩悩証言水不見。大非無見上昇が。本信玄空明仏教。連民全幕本部人。新宗教書後編集。戦弱本願愚惑性。現来生自輪伝下。決知義上異生死。即入弱上無意楽。一心事二の入。愚教大自主死と。上際無変。極上は。同族自主愚良心。有意過信し。高僧説。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナミダ成仏のこの方は今に自己を得たまえり。お真の小売りきわもなく。せのもうみょうを照らすなり。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナ知恵の古不明はかりなし。不良の所相ことごとく。こぬけゆかむらぬ。ものはなし。真 ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。な下脱の降臨極もなし高速かむるものはみな有無を離ると述べたも平等深くに奇妙せよ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。な幸運無下女国一切の上に触りなし光沢かむらぬものぞなき汝義よ奇妙せよ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。ナモアミダブ。な正常公明並びなしぐしこのゆえなれば一切のごけものぞ 残りぬ秘境へよ奇妙せよナモアミダブナモアミダブナモアミダブナモアミダブナブコウセユエユ最大一公園の部と名付けたり三途の国湾開くなり大王軍を奇妙せよがんにしくのく平等せいさい道本菩提心おうじょうあんあこナモアミダ仏ナモアミダ仏ナモアミダ仏ナモアミダ仏ナマンダナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏ナマンダ
Hard is it to be born into human form. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment and become aware of his supreme teaching. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depths of his doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in the life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha.
Please join me in Gassho. Far-reaching is the light of compassion. Wheresoever the light reaches, will joy of the Dharma arise, says the Buddha. Take refuge in the great consoler. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Welcome, everybody. This is our Gotan-E service, and I'm going to do a short talk about Gotan-E. So Gotan-E is the celebration of the birth of the founder of our school, Shinran Shonin. And with Shinran and his birth and his descent from Mount Hiei and his spreading of the other power Nembutsu teaching comes an egalitarian nature within Buddhism that changes not only the face of Buddhism within Japan, but Buddhism throughout the world. And so today, within Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, it doesn't matter who you are. You have the exact same access to the Nembutsu and the salvific power of Namo Amida Butsu. Whether you are poor or rich, wise or silly, whether you are Asian American or African American or Hispanic American or Caucasian American or any other race, it doesn't matter who you are, because to Amida, we are all equal. So I picked this quote, this Godansai, from the Jodo Wasan. It's the 10th Jodo Wasan. And the last line to me is very important. Take refuge in the great consoler. And this book from the Ryukoku translation series is amazing, because after the word consoler, there's a subnote. Daian-e, great consoler. According to the Keigon-gyo, Ani, or consolation or consoler, is another name of the Buddha. Here, as the author explains in the marginal notes, it is Amida's name. He expels the sorrows, grief, and evils of the sentient beings and lets them live peacefully. So, contained within that is the fact that we need to be consoled, because we are all people with greed, anger, and ignorance. And no matter where we are in that path, no matter what our karma is, no matter what our causes and conditions are, Amida meets us where we are. And this, I think, is one of the most important lessons that Shinran drives home for us. And so, for us celebrating his birthday today, let's bask in the lesson that Shinran left for us. So to do that, today I'm going to read a Myokonin story, a story of a very devout Jodo Shinshu follower, someone whose faith in the other power Nembutsu is unquestioned. And this is coming from a very, very old book. This is Shinran and His Religion of Pure Faith by Reverend Gendo Nakai. This book was originally written in the 1930s and then was translated again in 1961. So written in 1937 and then published and translated again in 1961. So these words are from before World War II. And it was, my understanding is it was Reverend Nakai's hope to help spread Shinran's understanding the egalitarian nature of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism to everybody, especially in the English-speaking world, which is why he worked on this book. And enclosed in here are many, many, many Myokonin stories, but I found one that I thought was very apt. It's the 10th one in the book, and it's entitled Jiryo Yomon in Ryogen. So please sit back and listen to the story. About 200 years ago, there lived a woodman named Jiryo Yomon at the foot of Mount Maya in the province of Setsu. Although he was very poor, his faith in Shinran's religion was so strong that he was accustomed to visit the Honganji temple in Kyoto once or twice a year to express his heartfelt gratitude before the image of Shinran Shonin. To pay for his traveling expenses, he saved the proceeds from the sale of bracken, which he gathered in his spare time during his regular work in the forest. At that time, there was a Nishinjin in Kyoto, a rich man whose name was Hishiya Rogen. Pious as no one else was, he never missed even a day to come and worship at the Honganji temple. One day at the temple, he happened to notice Jiryomon pay his homage to Shinran's image with deep reverence. The two believers became acquainted with each other, and their friendship grew so warm that thereafter, whenever in Kyoto on a visit, Jiryo-yomon would stop at Rogen's to pass pleasant hours in conversation about religious matters. One year, Jiryo-yomon failed to make his appearance at the Honganji temple. In fear lest something might be the matter with his friend, Rogen, together with his servant, went on a journey to see how his friend was faring. Arriving at the foot of Mount Maya, he asked a farmer where Jiryo-yomon lived. The farmer replied, "I know one Jiryo-yomon, but he is not a man worthy enough to be called on by a well-to-do person like yourself." A dilapidated cottage, which stood several yards away, was pointed out as a place where they said Jiryo-yomon lived, like a beggar, poorly fed and scantily clad. How great Rogen's surprise was. It may be imagined when he found his dear and respectable friend in a tumble-down cottage which could barely shelter him from the wind and rain. Jiryo-yomon was much delighted to receive an unexpected visit from his friend who shared the same faith, and heartily welcomed him into his cottage. He explained that his broken health had prevented him from making the pilgrimage to Kyoto. He is very happy to talk with his dear friend about religious matters, without leaving his abode. The two believers spent a night in the dimly lit cottage, now confessing their faith and calling upon Amida's holy name. In the morning, Rogen bade farewell and offered his friend a sum of money which he might be turned to good account to make his living easier. Jiryo-yomon would not accept the offer and said with a very hurt look, "I have always thought you are my best friend, but now you are trying to change my karma by means of money against infallible law of cause and effect. You are no longer my friend. Don't you see that I am now reaping what I sowed?" Rogen deeply regretted his thoughtlessness and humbly asked his friend's forgiveness, saying, "I was wrong to have thought I could make you happier with money. Be not wroth with me. I pray, my friend, be as you have always been, and I hope you will be that forever." After that, the poor woodman and the wealthy trader grew better friends than ever before. Namandats. So I think that this is one of the ultimate expressions of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism in this story, is you have a very, 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 very poor woodsman who's out collecting branches and moss and stuff to sell in order to afford a trip every year to the Honganji, and he also goes out and cuts wood down in order to eat and have a home, and in his older and more decrepit age can't even leave his house where he has no money, and yet he has firm foundation in his rebirth into the Pure Land of Amida Buddha. And he becomes friends with this unbelievably rich trader. And this trader has more money than he knows what to do with, can go to the temple every single day, and yet still has the exact same faith, the exact same knowledge of his birth in the Pure Land of Amida Buddha, both through the other power Nembutsu practice. And so they come together, and for them, their knowledge in their mind of their birth in the Pure Land and their acceptance in the great benevolence of the great consoler of Amida Buddha is equal. And that there's no qualitative difference in the eyes of Amida Buddha between this wretched poor man and this unbelievably rich, beautiful man, or in the eyes of Amida, Two people who say, Namo Amida Butsu, please help me, Amida-sama. Please embrace me with the pure light that reaches everywhere. And this is what I think Shinran Shonin most wanted to share with everybody. In that it's not us, no matter what our past karma is, that makes a difference in our birth in the Pure Land, but rather our acceptance of the calling, commanding aspect of Namo Amida Butsu, and to respond that back with the deepest gratitude of Namo Amida Butsu. And it is in that motion, in that cause and effect, Namo Amida Butsu, I hear and I say, Namo Amida Butsu, that my birth in the Pure Land is settled. So no matter who we ever run across and who they are and what their past causes and conditions are, we know that when they say the Nembutsu, they are equal to me, and thusly they are my great friend. They are my great friend. There is nothing which blocks anyone's path except for themselves. So Reverend Amada and I have been reading Gobunsho at the end of services. And I want to read another Gobunsho today to end out this Gotan-E service. But instead of doing it in Japanese, I want to read this one in English. So if you could all please bow your heads in reverence as I read Gobunsho. From the second fascicle, letter 7. Going is easy, yet no one is born there. On quiet consideration, we realize that it is indeed due to the efficacy of keeping the 5 precepts that we receive life in the human realm. This is extremely rare. Nevertheless, life in the human realm is but a momentary passage, and the afterlife is a blissful result in eternity. Even if we boast wealth and enjoying overwhelming fame, it is the way of the world that those who prosper will surely decline, and those who meet are certain to part. Hence, we cannot hold such a prosperity for long. It will only last 50 to 100 years. When we hear, too, of the uncertainty of life for the old and young alike, we realize that there is indeed little upon which we can depend. Accordingly, sentient beings of the present age should aspire to birth in the Pure Land through other power of faith. To receive that faith, there is no need for wisdom or learning, for wealth or status, or for poverty and distress. It does not matter if one is good or evil, male or female. What is fundamental is that we simply discard the sundry practices and take refuge in the right practice. To take refuge in the right practice is to rely on Amida Tathagata wholeheartedly and steadfastly, without any contriving. Sentient beings ever who entrust themselves in this way are embraced within Amida's light. He does not abandon them. And when life is spent, he brings them about without fail to the Pure Land. This is through the single-minded faith, Anjin alone, that we are born in the Pure Land. How readily we attain the subtle mind. There is no effort on your part. Hence, the 2 characters, Anjin, are read easily attained mind. Yasuku kokoro, and they have this meaning. Through faith alone, single-heartedly and steadfastly relying on Tathagata, we will be born without any difficulty in the land of utmost bliss. This subtle mind, how readily we understand it. And yet, the Pure Land, how easily we go there. Hence, the larger sutra teaches, going is easy, and yet no one is born there. This passage means that when we realize the settled mind and rely steadfastly on Amida, it is easy to go to the Pure Land. But because those who receive faith are rare, although going to the Pure Land is easy, no one is born there. Once we have reached this understanding of the name, the name we say day and night, morning and evening, is solely an expression of gratitude for the benevolence of the universal vow of great compassion. Deeply mindful of the Buddha Dharma and knowing the significance of faith, which we readily receive, we know unfailingly that the birth that is to come in the fulfilled land is of the greatest importance. Humbly and respectfully, Renyo Shonin, 1474. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Vits, Namanda, Vits, Namanda, Vits, Namanda.
Oh